Welcome to Into the Mythic. I'm Leanne O'Donnell, and as usual, I'm here on the southwest coast of Ireland with storyteller Polo Coleman. This week, we're going to be talking about islands in the Irish mythic imagination. As an island nation, we tend to seek out the coast and direct our gaze out into the ocean. And there's always been a sense that the edge of the world is not far away from our western seaboard. Today, Polo is going to tell us about islands that have been talked about for thousands of years. Floating islands that have been glimpsed out beyond the horizon but have never been mapped. These islands are places that partake of a particular kind of magic, and the humans who have managed to find them have all had extraordinary experiences. But before we begin, I want to tell you about an exciting new development here. Have you ever wanted to ask us questions or make a comment on the myths and legends we've been discussing? Have you ever thought it would be nice to listen and then chat with other people about the stories you've just heard? Well, Polo and I are offering a new online course this winter. Starting on Wednesday, November the 13th, for 6 weeks, we're inviting listeners to join us for a live interactive version of the podcast. Polo will be telling stories and you'll be invited to join in the conversation afterwards. This is an opportunity to ask questions and to dive deeper into the myths and legends, and to explore your own responses to them. We'll be keeping the group small so that everyone can have a chance to be involved. The link to book will be in the programme notes, or you can find out more on our website, which is leanneodonnell.com. We'll be gathering every Wednesday evening at 7:30, and we're excited about making a space to recreate the magic that happens when people come together to listen to stories. And now back to islands. This week we begin with a story that may sound familiar to many of you. It concerns a member of the famous band of warriors, the Fianna. For those of you who don't know, the Fianna were led by the legendary Mythical. They were a group of elite soldiers who lived out in the woods and the liminal spaces of Ireland. They were the strongest, the fastest, the most accomplished, and even the most cultured of men. Today we'll be discussing what happened when Fionn McCool's son Oisín met a beautiful woman from a mysterious island.
It's a story of Fionn and the Fianna. They were out along the west coast somewhere hunting, and they were relaxing one day, and next thing they saw coming across the water something, and they got the person with the sharpest eyes, Diarmuid or whoever it was, who looked out and said, I can see a woman on a white horse, a beautiful woman. She's coming closer. And then eventually they could all see her, and then she came right up to them, and the horse walked right up to them, and she spoke, and she was very beautiful, and they all stood up and greeted her, and she gave her name as Niamh Cinor, Niamh of the golden hair, and they introduced themselves, and she got down off the horse and sat and feasted with them, and she stayed with them for quite a while, travelled around a bit, and it became clear that she and Oisín, Fionn's son, had fallen in love, and they became an item, a couple, and when it came time, after a period of time, she said, I'm going to go back to where I'm from, Tirnanog. My father is a king in Tirnanog, and I'd like you to come with me. So he said he would, and he said, I can come back anytime. She said, yeah, of course. But how will we get there? She said, well, we'll go on the horse, on this white horse. So he said his goodbyes to everyone, fond farewells, and headed off with her on the back of the horse. And the horse followed the path of the setting sun westwards across the sea, and eventually reached Tirnanog. And they lived there. Life was perfect, actually, there. Everyone was wonderful. The food was wonderful. The scenery was beautiful. There was no fighting, no strife. And he had a wonderful time there. And after about a year, he said, I'm missing the folks back home. I'd like to see them again. And she said, well, hold on a while more. So he waited, and another year went by, and he said again, I think I want to see Fionn and the Fianna and the places I've been to. So she said, hold on another year. So the third year passed, and eventually she realised, okay, he wants to go back. So she said, well, look, I'm not going to go back with you. You go on your own. But just get on the horse will bring you. But don't get off the horse, whatever you do. Stay on the horse. So the horse followed the path of the setting sun eastwards this time, across to Ireland. He was on the back of the horse, and he reached Ireland, and everything seemed faded, a bit less than it had been before. And he went to the places where the Fianna were, and there was no sign of them. The places were all overgrown with nettles and brambles, and people weren't around. He passed some people, but they were kind of smaller than they had been. And eventually he talked to someone and found out that the Fianna were gone 300 years before. So each year in Tirnanog had been 100 years in Ireland. So he had been there for 300 years and was now a 325-year-old man or whatever he was. And Ireland wasn't a better place, for it hadn't done well in the changes. So he very sadly realised that all his friends, all his relatives were all dead, and he had nothing for it but to head back to Tirnanog. So he headed back to the west, and as he came to the west, he came upon a field where there were 4 or 5 or 6 men, and they were trying to move a giant rock with levers and pulleys and ropes and horses and everything. And he said to them, does it take so many men to move one little rock? And they said, well, you're so smart up there and you're a fine horse. Why don't you lift it? So he said, I will. And he leaned down from the horse, and to the amazement of the men, he picked up with one hand the rock and moved it, spurred the horse over to where they wanted the stone moved to. But as he did, the saddle strap broke and the saddle slipped sideways and he fell to the ground. And as soon as he did, he became a 300 and whatever year old man, withered and wizened and ancient. And the horse immediately galloped away, whinnied, raised his head and galloped away west across the path of the setting sun, and was never seen again. And he was left here.
Wow. Poor Oisin.
Poor Oisin, yeah.
I mean, close to an eternal life of perfection, and then one slipping saddle ruined everything.
Exactly.
There's a whole load of interesting elements in that, and like I'm conscious that I certainly heard it in school as a kid, and maybe I was interested the first time, and then maybe it became a bit of a kind of a trope.
Yes.
Sort of that one. But I find myself really interested listening to it now because it's got a whole load of layers in it about the passage of time and the idea of a place somewhere else where you could go and life would be different. Things would be brighter and radiant and easy. And actually what I'm really hearing it is that in his 300 years away, there was a decline in life in the real world, in inverted commas. People were weaker. Everything was duller.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into an idea that the past, you know, this kind of romantic notion we have that sometime back in the past was actually the golden age.
Yes, yeah.
And things are getting worse rather than better.
Yeah, it does. And it also links in with this idea that this island off to the west is perfect, which was why the New World, when it was discovered, was the perfect place to go to.
Yeah, and a place of abundance.
Yes, yeah.
And longevity and health and sunlight and... Yeah. And in the case of the story about Tir na Nog, or the land of the youth, would you say the land of the youth is an accurate translation?
The land of youth.
The land of youth.
Of youth.
Yeah. The land of youth. You know, Oisin follows the beautiful Niamh over the water to this paradise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And lives there for 3 years or 300 years or a period of time anyway, when everything is perfect. But he's not quite happy. He's not quite satisfied. Now, is that because he's from somewhere else or because life is too easy?
Or is it, again, you know, we had this a bit with the dog, the sun god stopping his chariot and time stopped while he wooed Boine. Now, that's a much older story, much older sounding story. But what happens to time when you fall in love is that it slows down.
True, yeah.
So he's in this bubble of love with Niamh of the shining hair. But that doesn't last forever.
No, it doesn't.
And at some point he wants to see his father, his brothers, his friends.
Yeah.
Maybe he has a classic sort of... wants to go back for a pint with the lads.
Yes.
a couple of years into his perfect relationship, he actually just wants to.
Maybe it was just the 7-year itch.
The 3-year wants to go and see his friends. Yeah. So he came back and found an Ireland much reduced,
greatly diminished, much to his sadness. and he fell victim to it, really, because he fell, his saddle strap broke and he fell off the horse. So he wasn't anymore this fabulous giant of a man on a beautiful white horse riding through the countryside. He was just an old man, wizened and withered.
And when you say it like that, the first thing I think is, well, is that moral that nobody can escape time, really. The travails of time. No physical body can stay immune to that.
Yeah. I've always taken it as that as a very big part of this story, actually, that it's not possible to maintain perfection and your youth.
It catches up with everyone.
It does, yeah.
And there's also something that feels symbolic and significant about the contact with the earth. So his foot needs to touch the ground.
Yes, exactly.
And somewhere in my head, as you said that, I thought, there's again, you can exist a little bit up off the ground at times when you're having these extreme experiences. You're floating above.
Yeah.
And you're off in the clouds. You're away with the fairies, or you're up in the clouds. And if you were to use a kind of a colloquialism, a truism, like he came back to earth with a bang.
He sure did, yes.
Yeah. He was living in glimmering-haired perfection. And then once he made contact with the earth, everything got very real again.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame he couldn't just stay on his horse. Really.
I know, it's a pretty sad ending, really, isn't it? Now, when the monks wrote it, they have him that he meets Patrick, and Patrick baptizes him before he dies. So for them, that was their happy ending, that he was baptized. But I've never quite gone with that. I think he was long gone before Christianity arrived in Ireland. And the monks actively tried to link the old stories with the new Christianity in the telling of these stories. Within the stories, people like Oisin were baptized at the end, but also in books like Agalav Nishanoric, the Colloquy of the Ancients, where Patrick meets the three surviving Fianna, and they travel around the country with him, and it's basically a story of place names, Lug Anamrica. And he says, what is this place called? And they say, one of them says, it is soon told. It is called At Swim Two Birds. And the reason it is called this is because, and he tells the story, and they just move around the country. And in the end, he baptizes them and they die.
I'm seeing a link here.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, baptism is a very strong link.
So that was a way of telling the stories that they already knew were popular and that had resonance and that people were interested in, but making St. Patrick a sort of a main character in it.
Yes, yeah. And not only that they were interested or were popular, but were the truth, were the past truth. So place names, why the places came to be called that. Our history, if you like, in a more general term.
So in a way, it's almost giving St. Patrick provenance by connecting him with these established stories of truth and wisdom.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he becomes part of that narrative then.
Does, yeah.
Which is quite a clever thing to do.
Yeah, it is. And it's a pretty basic way of doing it.
Going back to the story about Oisin and Niamh, because we were trying to talk about islands, Tír na nÓg was off the coast. Presumably couldn't be seen by humans, could it?
Oh, it could.
Oh, it could be seen, but you couldn't reach it.
Well, no, you couldn't reach it because it would appear off the coast and you'd see it on some days, but not every day. And you could head out to find it, and there were stories that people found it, but they were never seen again.
So it was just tantalisingly, occasionally visible on the horizon.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
And that ties into another island that you wanted to tell me about.
Yes, there's one off the coast of Galway called Inishbofin, Inishnabofinne, the island of the White Cow. And that's there's about 150 people living there nowadays. It's a very vibrant, great place to visit. Close enough. It's about 40-minute boat ride out of Cleggan. And the story of it, the origin story of it, is still told, and it's a fascinating one because it deals with the fact that the island was floating, and there was a heavy mist, and two men came out of Cleggan in their boat fishing, and they were in the mist, but they knew their way. They didn't need compass or anything, and they were working away, chatting, I suppose, and rowing their boat, and eventually they came right onto the island. They bumped into the island, which was floating there, and through the mist they could see hills and rocks, and they were frightened, and they landed on the shore, and they lit a fire. And fire, of course, has a power of its own. And once they lit the fire, the island fixed in position and is stuck in position where it is nowadays. And the mist lifted because it was a magic mist. And hurrying away from them, they could see an old woman driving a white cow before her. So they called her, and she looked around and hurried away, driving the white cow on. And they jumped up and ran after her. And one of them caught up with the cow and caught it by the tail. But the tail came away in his hand and turned into a sea rod, or a piece of a hold fast for the seaweeds, for the kelp. And the white cow turned into a giant white quartzite stone. And at the same time, his friend reached the woman and reached out for her with his hand, and she spun around and struck him with her hazel wand, and he turned into a great white rock, and she disappeared in a flash, and the other fellow was left with these two white stones and this story, and went home and told the story. And in earlier maps of the island, the two white stones are marked, but they're not known nowadays where they are.
So they've disappeared as well.
They seem to have, yes, yeah.
So that's another story where the island is a place where something different and magical can happen.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Reality isn't quite the same, and one thing can get turned into another.
Yes, yeah. It's a bit like the island of Hy Brasil, which was told so often in the old sagas and stories, and written by the monks once they began writing the histories, as we call them, of Ireland, that when they eventually found South America, Hy Brasil was so well known by the world, by the Western world at least, that they named Brazil after Hy Brasil.
Wow. And Hy Brasil, what do we know about it? It's an Irish story, is it? Was it off the coast of Ireland?
Yeah, it was an Irish story, and it's even marked in some of the very, very old maps, a different sized island, but off the west coast of Ireland. Some say it was the site of Atlantis. Others say it predated that it was just an island like Tirnanog, a land of ever young, where just magic things happened.
And was it another place of abundance? And, was
yes.
the idea that if you could get there, you could live this amazing life?
Sure, yes. Yeah, that was the dream.
Yeah, just beyond reach.
Yes, just out of reach.
And it couldn't be mapped because no one ever found it?
Yeah, they didn't find it. And then, of course, when they did find Brazil and they began making the modern maps, there was no sign of it, so it doesn't exist on modern maps. Well, it moved around because all islands moved. No island was fixed in position until something like the Inishbofin story happened, and then it was fixed in place.
So in the public imagination, or in the mind of men back in the day, islands were not static.
No, they weren't. They were fluid. They moved. They moved on the ocean.
Ah. So that's why the Inishbofin story is important, because the thing happens, the cow gets turned into the stones.
Yes.
And then the island gets fixed in place.
Exactly, yes, yeah.
But the rest of the time they're floating around like, I suppose, icebergs or something.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Wow. And Hy Brasil, I suppose that makes it harder to find, that it's moving all the time.
Yes, sure, yes, yeah. Because it's moving in and out and up and down. So it's all over the place.
And it's probably in a different time dimension as well.
Well, yes, sure, yeah.
If Tirnanog is anything to go by.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's really interesting. And I think, again, it speaks to a mindset that is quite different to our mindset, because now we expect to be able to give something a coordinate.
Yes,
and to see it from above and to know exactly where we position it.
Yeah.
But it takes away from this kind of magical fluidity and a dynamic thing where there's an idea of an island, and this idea of an island is moving around the place and can't quite be found.
Exactly, yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And a whole different way of looking at the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do like the idea that, you know, it's all just beyond, just out of reach.
Yeah, just over there, yeah.
Can't quite get there unless you're Usheen.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you come back.
Yeah.
And anyway, it all go, time catches up with you anyway.
It's like that that Spanish proverb, the fate of glass is to break.
That's helpful. Just to accept it, I suppose.
Yes, yeah.
As an island nation, a lot of people look at the coast, or we holiday on the coast when we can. And there is this idea that as you get to the edge, the magic kind of increases.
Oh, absolutely. When you go west in Ireland. And of course, Ireland was the westernmost point of the old world. So it was very much out there. And then the west of Ireland was out there, out there.
And then if you go to an island off the west coast,
you're even further out.
You're further out. Yeah. You're really, back in those days, back at the time the monks were writing, you're at the edge of the known world.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
And I suppose that's exactly where you would expect to find an island of eternal youth or endless abundance and beautiful women.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes some kind of sense. Yes, it's a nice notion. I kind of would like to believe maybe they're still floating around out there.
Oh, I do, yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you really?
I do, yeah. But I think they're out there. They're just in a different dimension. You don't see them.
Yeah, we've become very literal.
We have, and I hate that. I really hate that.
Because it misses a point, doesn't it? It misses the point of a way of being and a way of thinking.
Yeah, it's only one truth, and it's very focused and very hidebound kind of truth. There's no room for all the grey areas, all the fuzziness.
Yeah, we just want the kind of something that you can touch and map and measure and position.
Yeah,
and then that's real.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But if people for thousands of years were talking about this island, that's a kind of a reality.
Yeah,
people are believing in it
yeah.
and conceptualizing it and reaching out towards it.
Yeah.
That's a reality of its own. Well, it's a type of existence.
Sure, it is, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you just have to be in the right headspace to see a glimpse of Tirnanog or High Brazil.
Yeah. Or not even headspace, but some other space. Body space, heart space.
Heart space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you just need to be in a different way of perceiving, and a different way of being.
Yeah.
And get outside of our Google Maps.
Yeah.
Which are very useful.
Yeah.
But they're not going to find High Brazil.
No.
Or Tirnanog.
Not the short way to it, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, just back to the Tirnanog story before we finish up, would you be thinking, he should have just stayed there with Niamh? Should he just have stayed? Or is it way more relatable and way more real that he needed to get home and see his people and see his land?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because, it's always the story of the returned emigrant, really, has more poignancy than, especially who returns and then he gets stuck. That's very poignant. Rather than he's off and everyone's forgotten him. It's
absolutely a classic and fantastic narrative arc.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Like, it's brilliant. And if it was in Greek and Roman mythology, there'd be something like going to visit Olympus and you'd be, maybe a mortal going up to meet the divine, or you'd be semi-mortal. But this is an extraordinary man, but he's just a man who gets some kind of entrance into this other divine world.
Exactly, yeah.
But he can't quite stay there without going home to check on his people.
Yeah.
There's something very poignant about it.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
And it's his mortality that brings him home.
Yeah.
To a saddened, reduced Ireland, which is sad. And then it's his mortality that means that time has to catch up on him.
Yeah. And it's also I think as well, there's a very strong, in the Irish mind, psyche, whatever, there's very strong love of Ireland, which makes our exile much harder to bear. And, like under the Brehon laws, the worst punishment was to be exiled. And I think that's still very much with us, or up to recently has been very much with us. So that when people went to America, they had a wake, they had an American wake, because they were gone. They wouldn't come back. Even if they did come back, it was just to visit for a funeral or something. So I think that sense of exile, of an exiled, of an expat, an expatriate who's far away, being homesick for Ireland and coming back to Ireland, even if it means falling off the horse and turning into an old man, is very strongly there.
Yes, it's very strong. And I think it does tie into a whole other set of stories we could talk about how the Indigenous Irish culture was connected to place
Yes.
in a very real way. It wasn't an abstract thing, the place I'm from. It was place as a person almost.
Sure,
it was a relationship with the place. And people have it at a village level and a townland level and a county level even now.
Yeah.
Very strongly. So having never been an emigrant really, I just went away for a year or so, I can only imagine what it would be like to be so far away and think you couldn't come back.
Yeah.
And you hear all these stories of people doing well in America, for example, because it's a huge part of the last 200 years of Irish life is relatives having to go all the way to America to make a living. But you hear of them doing well and coming back.
Yes. Yeah.
And coming back to buy some fields or a house or to hold on to the farm.
Yes.
And there's all, as you say, there's this need to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So poor old Oisin came back from the land of plenty.
And everyone was gone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why that had to be the end. Like, I'm sorry he didn't have a slightly happier ending. Could he have come back and had some kind of flash of insight? No.
Maybe he did as he passed away, as he hit the ground.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll try and rewrite it.
Yeah.
Where it was actually a good idea to come back.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
Maybe
that's what we all have to do. Maybe that's what these stories are about. We have to find our own endings. And who knows what the ending was, you know.
Who knows, Paul, if it happened at all?
Yeah. Oh, it happened.
It happened.
We know it happened.
We know it happened. Okay, I'm going to try and rewrite that. And I won't have St. Patrick coming in at the end.
Great.
To christen him. Okay, thank you very much, Paul. That was really interesting.
You're very welcome.
Into the Mythic is made possible by the generous support of Wild Goose Studios, a family-owned craft studio based in Kinsale, County Cork.